Welcome, everyone. I hope everybody is doing well. Happy Thursday to everyone. You're over that hump. For those of you with your 9 to 5s and 5 days a weeks, um, you're over that hump, man. You're almost there. uh, so, um, had a nice productive day today. Uh, and great news, by the way, great news. So, my home COVID test came in yesterday. Just a month after I spent a month quarantined. Awesome. Thank you, CDC or whoever is responsible for sending me these. It's great. Real helpful. Awesome. Oh, you were going to send an APB out for me, huh? I'm not difficult to find. So, yeah, right, Hugh Janus. So we're going to, what we're going to do is we're going to play the press conference that brings us up to date on the Orrin and Orson West adoptive parents who are now charged. So I'm going to let her tell you all about it. Now, bear in mind, guys, I guess she wants to be abundantly clear. So she speaks very slow and robotic. So just fair warning.
Good morning. My name is Cynthia Zimmer. I am Kern County's district attorney. I have information about Orrin and Orson West, the two young boys who were reported missing from California City 14 months ago. On December 21st of 2020, Orrin was 4 years old and Orson was 3 years old. Their adoptive parents in California City, Trezell West and Jacqueline West, reported to the California City Police Department that the boys had disappeared from their backyard. The California City Police Department began a search,
which we knew was total bullshit from
in the area around their home.
The get-go.
After a period of time, the FBI joined in the search, as did the California Highway Patrol and search and rescue from the Kern County Sheriff's Department. The community also came out to assist in looking for the boys, but to no avail. They were not located. 1 week later, crucial information came to light that necessitated the involvement of the Bakersfield Police Department and the Kern County District Attorney's Office.
Thank you so much, Tina Coley.
Law enforcement worked diligently, hundreds of hours in the next 12 months, looking for the boys. This morning, I'm saddened to announce that the investigation has revealed that Orrin and Orson West are deceased. The investigation has also revealed that they died 3 months before their adoptive parents reported them missing.
Now, she sounds very sure about that. So
However,
I'm guessing somebody talked and they've got some kind of physical evidence.
This week, the Kern County grand jury indicted Trezell and Jacqueline West, the adoptive parents, for the murder of Orrin and Orson West.
Jesus, man.
The indictment charges 5 counts. The first count is murder charges them both with murder, with the victim being Orrin West. The second count charges murder, with the victim being Orson West. The third count charges felony child abuse against the person of Orrin West. The fourth count charges child abuse against the person of Orson West. And the fifth count charges false report of an emergency.
That was 4, wasn't it?
Naturally, the first two counts carry the most time in state prison, murder. It is charged as murder in the second degree. That carries 15 years to life, but with 2 victims, the potential penalty or the maximum possible penalty, if convicted, is 30 years to life for each defendant, Trezell and Jacqueline West.
Now, keep in mind, these assholes are pleading not guilty. They don't even have attorneys yet, right? But they're pleading not guilty. And I believe the date is set for May 23rd for the trial to begin. But I personally, and Annie was saying the same thing, actually. I personally don't see, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but following these cases and all of the shit that we're dealing with when it comes to the Letitia Stock trial that hasn't even started, that should have started a long time ago, and she's just managed to waste everyone's time and manipulate the situation, waste everyone's time. Hopefully that doesn't happen here, but I have actually, I'm going to share that, Sue Legate. I'm going to share the affidavit. Well, the arrest affidavit, no. So I don't know what the details are of the case. I don't see how that arrest affidavit is available, seeing as Orson and Orrin are minors, very small children. The boys have not been found to my knowledge yet, Joe Smith. I haven't heard anything about them having attorneys yet. So hopefully, the thing is I just don't see, now if they have attorneys now, 2.5 months might be enough time to prepare a defense. Sure. But I don't see how, without having attorneys now and an attorney still having yet to have been assigned to them, I don't see how they'll be able to prepare a solid defense. And I don't see how solid their defense is going to be, because this prosecutor seems very, very, very confident with her evidence. So, I mean, she uses words like the investigation has revealed, not we believe or we think, none of that. They got attorneys today. Okay. They have separate attorneys. Oh, she's going to roll on his ass. She is going to roll on his ass. Believe it. So Duty Ron had the affidavits, like, I mean, like the details of the case, because that's usually what the arrest affidavit consists of. It states the evidence that they have, and what justifies the arrest. What I shared, I don't know if that's the same thing, but what I'm going to share has details as to why those charges are there, but not in specific detail as to the circumstances. Just loosely saying because of this, and this. You'll see what I mean. Let's continue listening to her.
Now, the grand jury indictment is a formal charging document, and we followed a process in charging them before the grand jury, and that was the district attorney requested that the grand jury convene to hear evidence regarding an indictment that we presented them. The district attorney's office then presented information to the grand jury, and the grand jury found there was sufficient evidence to hold.
I'd never want to be a jury in one of these cases, man. Never, ever would I want to be a juror in one of these cases.
Trezell and Jacqueline West responsible for these murders, and they returned what was called a true bill. So oftentimes we call it they were indicted, but what they did is returned a true bill on the indictment. Department 1 Superior Court judge issued warrants for the arrest of the defendants, and they were arrested last night at about 7 p.m. in Kern County. They are currently in the Kern County Jail waiting for an arraignment on the indictment, which will be tomorrow.
Let me take a second to point something out, guys. Take this, folks, as an example of when we say that it takes time. It takes a long time. Okay? It's been over a year since these boys went missing. Okay? It's been over a year since these boys were reported missing. All right? Now, what do you think these law enforcement was doing this entire time? They were investigating and they were building a case. And that was all only prelude to this, to them going into a courtroom and presenting a case and saying these two murdered their adoptive children, and we're going to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. You will see definitive evidence. All of that is to ensure that they can actually deliver that promise to a jury. So we have to keep that in mind. Now, mind you, like, pay attention to how long that took. It's over a year, man. You know what I mean? So Summer's been missing for, almost 9 months, 8.5 months. Summer's been missing. Little over 8.5 months. So Summer Wells being missing for this long, you got to have some faith in law enforcement. Now, I'm not going to get into it. I don't know what the hell is going on. Actually, I'm going to discuss that a little bit because I'm not even sure. I'm at a place right now where I'm contemplating whether or not to even talk about the Summer Wells case ever again until she's found or there's an arrest made, or I don't know why, because I do not think that Candace has an attorney. I just don't believe that she has an attorney. So there's got to be a reason, in my personal opinion, as to why Ronnie Lawson would say that on television to a news reporter and say that they're not cooperating right now and that they have attorneys. So I don't know what that strategy is, but I have to trust that there's a strategy there. I have to. We don't have a choice but to, people. That's the truth. None of us actually have a choice but to trust that there's some sort of strategy here. So I'm going to just kind of hang back and wait to see what that is, because I don't want to interfere, because if Candace is part of that investigation, or Don is, for whatever reason, which we've always kept open as a possibility, if that's the case, I do not want to interfere with that in any way, shape, or form, any more than I may have already have, as much as anybody else to a certain degree, so I don't know. Right now, I am completely at a loss as to what was Ronnie Lawson's reasons for saying that on television. So this is the first time where I'm completely and totally baffled as to why law enforcement is doing something. So I have to trust whatever they're doing. I have to. So we'll see, at least for now. And if it turns out that they're doing something just completely unethical and fucked up, and they happen to be innocent, I'm gonna be upset, and I'll speak out on that when the time comes. But for now, I have to trust law enforcement and what they're doing.
There will be no preliminary hearing in this case because an indictment is a substitute for a preliminary hearing. In this case, we'll proceed directly to trial. The announcement of an indictment in this case probably raises a lot of questions about the facts of the case and what you and the public would like to know. I'm not permitted to go over the facts of the case in this case, but there is something that I'd like to discuss.
Interesting.
Because the facts of the case are to be what we produce in the jury trial.
Now, remember, she said, I want to point that fact out too. So she's also pointed out already that this investigation has revealed that the Orson boys, or the West boys, Orrin and Orson, they were deceased for 3 months prior. So somehow or another they ended up getting a specific time. Now, you don't get that necessarily. I don't know really much about blood evidence or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if they could tell how old blood is to that specific pinpoint of time. I don't know if they can do that, but it sounds to me like somebody talked. It sounds a lot to me like somebody talked. We're going to talk a little bit more about that moving forward in a minute.
Because we want both the prosecution and the defense to have a fair trial in this case. However, one of the questions that I'm sure you would like to know is, have the bodies of Orrin and Orson been found? And the answer to that is no, they have not been found. However, I would like to emphasize that the fact that law enforcement have not found their bodies does not preclude a murder prosecution. As a matter of fact, there have been many hundreds of what we call no-body homicides prosecuted across the United States.
Oh, yeah.
Successfully.
Yep.
And even no-body homicides have resulted in murder convictions in Kern County.
Oh, okay. She's like, this ain't our first rodeo.
The people who are standing here with me today.
So she sounds right there. We're getting a real sense of her confidence in having a case against them. So I this is a little different than the prosecutor in the Morphew case. She was defensive at the press. She didn't sound to me that she was confident to have enough evidence. And based on what we know about the Morphew case so far, there's reasonable doubt. There is definitely reasonable doubt going on. So do I think he did it? Yeah, I kind of think he did it. But what we know about the Morphew case so far is there's definitely room for doubt.
Who have been crucial in bringing this case forward. Eric Smith is the person to my right here. Eric Smith is the supervisor of the homicide unit at the DA's office. Next to him is Brian Estep, also a homicide prosecutor in the DA's office. And these two gentlemen are the people from my office who presented the evidence to the grand jury. And this grand jury hearing began 3 months ago.
These guys are all business, dude. Check them out.
In December of 2021. Mr. Smith, would you like to come say a few words?
On behalf of myself and, of course, Deputy District Attorney Brian Estep, I would like to thank the allied agencies who worked tirelessly throughout this investigation. That includes also the Kern Regional Crime Lab and also the DA investigators in this case. Kern County law enforcement worked together at first in an attempt to.
Now, real quick, sorry guys. Also, this is a county matter, right? This is a county matter. So this trial may actually get broadcasted, video broadcasted. So we'll see about that. And if it does, then I'll go over it. Hopefully I can collab with a couple other creators and have them on here too. But hopefully, like, that's the plan. is to cover this thing, because I do think that they're going to broadcast it. Federal cases generally don't get broadcast, but local cases do.
To locate Orrin and Orson West. And as that continued, it turned into the investigation into the disappearance and ultimately the homicide of the two boys. The lead investigative agencies, Bakersfield Police Department, California City Police Department, they worked tirelessly throughout the course of this over a year since this occurred to follow up on leads and complete the investigation. Investigation that was continued even throughout the grand jury hearing. The indictment itself took approximately 3 months. Over 50 witnesses testified during the course of the indictment. Much of those witnesses' testimony was extremely emotional as it related to this case, but that's to be expected from a case that involves the murder of 2 innocent children.
Let's see one more time.
Much of those witnesses' testimony was extremely emotional. Bakersfield Police Department, California City Police Department.
I want to hear again what he says about these witnesses.
The course of this over a year since this occurred to follow up on leads and complete the investigation. Investigation that was continued even throughout the grand jury hearing. The indictment itself took approximately 3 months. Over 50 witnesses testified during the course of the indictment. Much of those witnesses' testimony was extremely emotional as it related to this case, but that's to be expected from a case that involves the murder of 2 innocent children. Thank you.
Obviously somebody talked. So yeah. Let's try to keep the rumors out of the chat though, Susie Carter. Okay. I appreciate you pointing it out that it is a rumor, but still, we're still putting it out there. But I get what you're doing. You're giving a disclaimer that it is just a rumor, and I appreciate that. But let's try to keep them out of the chat if we can anyway. But a lot of people are leaning towards that. A lot of people are thinking, because the way he's saying that the testimony is very, very emotional, that would indicate to me more that one of the other kids talked. We're going to get deeper into that too.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. To my left, are 2 chiefs of the lead agencies in this case that did most of the work, Bakersfield Police Chief Greg Terry and California City Police Chief John Walker. Chief Terry, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. This is not the outcome that we and so many had hoped and prayed for over the last year. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the families of Orrin and Orson, who, with this news today, their worst fears have been realized. I want to express my pride and appreciation to our homicide team, who invested so much personally and professionally to find the truth in this investigation. We now realize that the search for the boys began after the real tragedy had already occurred. But it is the work and diligence of the investigators, our partners, California City Police Department, the FBI.
And I wonder what got them there.
National Center for...
I wonder what got them there. Like, I wonder where, at what point and what circumstances said, okay, we're not looking for missing kids. We need to bring homicide in on this. And we need to conduct this like it's a homicide investigation. Because obviously that fork in the road took place at some point. I'm just really curious as to what the circumstances were that led to that.
Missing and exploited children and many, many other law enforcement agencies, community members, our own.
And don't forget to get your Dumpy Dump merch, where all of the profits from it get donated to, after Teespring takes their cut, every last penny left over from that gets donated to the Center of Missing and Exploited Children. Don't be a dumpy dump. Get some merch.
Own community members and members of the public. That diligence, that refusal to give up is why we are here today. I also want to express my appreciation to our district attorney, Cindy Zimmer, for her leadership and for her commitment to the safety of our families here in Kern County, no matter how difficult the case. We also would not be here without the teamwork and support of the district attorney staff. They provided invaluable support to our investigators, a perspective.
Anybody want to speculate as to why we're not hearing much about this case from bullshit blowhard and dumpy dump go lightly? Anybody want to speculate as to why we're not hearing much from them on this case?
Advice and counsel along the way. And again, we would not be here without that.
Just an observation.
And the last thing I would say is this is not a resolution in this case. And there will not be a resolution completely in this case until these boys are brought home.
Thank you, Chief Terry. Chief Walker, would you like to address the audience?
Good morning. Thank you for being here. Let me emphasize, first and foremost, this is a tragedy, an absolute tragedy that was reported in my city, that two small boys could be killed by their parents. But I do have to say how proud I am of my department from the second we got the call until we brought in so many resources, and we're very grateful for that. But the second we got the call, we were on scene. We began to work it and look for these kids. And we had so many agencies involved, Kern County Sheriffs, the Search and Rescue, CHP came with their helicopter to help us. But the citizens of Cal City came out in numbers to look for these kids. And then
I agree, Hugh. I agree.
And eventually across the nation, we were getting people who were interested and they wanted to know where these kids were as well as us. And then eventually Chief Terry and the Bakersfield PD came in to help us out, and they've been instrumental to make this
well
happen.
legally they
So I
are.
wanna thank all those
You know,
people
I
again for
get
helping
the
us
frustration with
to try
that.
to
I
come
get
to
the
some kind of
frustration
resolution with this.
of calling, you know, them. I mean, I'm specific when I say it. I say adoptive parents. I'll stay specific and say that. But the fact is legally they are their parents. It's not like they were just fostering them, which I mistitled my last video, and I just realized that. But it's not like they were fostering them. What they were doing, they adopted them. You heard them say that they named them. They have Trezel's last name. You know, so technically by law, legally, they are Orrin and Orson's parents. They just are. As much as we don't like it.
But again, the bottom line is we have two small boys that we believe are no longer here that are dead, and that's terrible. But again, I want to thank the.
He says believe. Now, obviously, by saying that, you know, that's for sure that they don't have a body, but also there's no way to be absolutely definitive. There's no way to be, you know, absolutely 100% sure that these boys are deceased because you don't have a body. But I mean, you could be pretty damn sure, though, if you find blood and, you know, DNA from one of their toothbrushes or something and it matches, then, you know.
District Attorney Cindy Zimmer for being brave and diligent to push this forward and actually bring this case to the surface. So we will push forward. We haven't given up, and we'll continue to give them any kind of help that they would need in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Walker. While the defendants in this case, Trezel and Jacqueline West, are presumed innocent, the securing of a grand jury indictment is a major step in ensuring that there will be justice for Orrin and Orson. This case has tugged at the heartstrings of people in my office and in law enforcement and in this community. It is a horrific tragedy that these precious little boys had to lose their lives. But I want to thank everyone who was involved in this case, law enforcement officers. It must have been so difficult for them who searched for Orrin and Orson, the community members that came out and helped search, and then the community members that just continue to care about what happened to them. So if you have any questions, those are the end of my comments, but keep in mind, there are ethical restraints of as far as what we can talk about prior to the trial in this case.
Right. So get ready to hear a whole lot of, we're not prepared to discuss those kind of details of our investigation. It's still an open investigation, blah, 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 blah.
Well, let me try something.
Thank you. I think he had his hand up first.
Thank you, District Attorney. How can we confirm that the boys had died 3 months prior to their reported disappearance, if bodies haven't been found? Can you kind of explain how that works?
No, I cannot, but I can tell you the facts in court will show that we were able to prove that to the grand jury that the boys have died, that they were murdered. And we did that through a combination of direct and circumstantial evidence. And the grand jury was convinced that they were dead. Thank you.
Given that you say that they died 3 months before this was reported, and that the fact that Giselle and Jacqueline lived in Bakersfield and then moved to California City, Chief Walker, do you believe, can anybody say whether Orrin and Orson were ever in California City to begin with?
Mr. Gaspar, that's a good question, and that's something we're going to answer during the trial.
Can't say more than that.
We cannot go into the facts of the case.
As far as trying a case without a body, because since I assume you don't.
Somebody's asking me what I would ask if I was there. I'm not a journalist. You know what I mean? I already understand the fact that they're not going to tell me anything. They're not going to say anything regarding the details of the investigation. You know, they're just going to say, I can't answer that with anything that I want to know. So since I'm not a journalist, that's the best answer I can give you.
You don't know where the boys are. Is that
We
right?
don't know where their bodies are. That's what I said.
Okay, so you don't know where the bodies are. What will that present kind of a difficulty in trying this case without a body? Public out there has at least some that I've run into say, well.
See, that's a
they
great
can't try somebody
question.
without a body. How are they going to do that?
Well, you can.
As I explained in my earlier statements, nobody.
Yeah, she already said it. She already said that it happens all the time. We saw it with Joe Ray Daniels. They never found Joe Clyde Daniels, but they and all of the evidence was circumstantial. All of the evidence was circumstantial, and they still convicted him.
Are tried all the time. And we have evidence that was sufficient to convince the grand jury, and we have sufficient evidence that we believe will convince a jury that they are not alive. And we have evidence.
Have you tried a case here without a body before?
Yes, we have tried to successfully, at least that I know off the top of my head. I have those names, the Leonard Bryce Thomas case and the Daniel Rhodes case, successful murder convictions. And there may be more, but those are two that I can remember.
This
Yes.
lady's extremely
Can you talk
confident.
a little bit about why second-degree murder in this case rather than first?
No, I
Ooh, good
cannot.
question.
I can't really discuss the theory.
I was wondering
of
about that too.
liability in the case because that would involve the facts.
Let me
And
get into that real quick. My theory on why it is second degree murder, and again, a very uneducated theory, but why I think it's second degree murder and not first degree murder is because I believe those boys. I believe one of those kids, somebody that was there, told law enforcement that the boys were probably beaten to death. Because of the other charge, I think that they were beaten to death. I think that that's the case. So second degree murder, that's, you know, it may not be with the absolute intention. But I don't know. I don't know. You know, I'm just, again, I'm quite the layman here, so I'm just doing the best I can to speculate with my very little education.
Also, I'm so sorry, one more question. Can you talk a little bit about why you guys decided to go down the grand jury route and attain?
That probably has a lot to do with it too.
We
Good
try,
point.
I've done over 20 grand jury indictments myself throughout my
Good
career.
point.
It is something that we commonly do.
So because they don't have a body, probably, I mean, how can they determine a cause of death? You know what I mean? How can you actually get a first degree murder charge? That's actually a great point. How can you get a first degree murder charge when you don't have evidence of how they even died? You see what I'm saying?
On homicide cases, which involve calling live witnesses. And also sometimes we do it because there has to be a little bit of starting and stopping regarding scheduling. A preliminary hearing is continuous. You don't have start and stops. And at a grand jury hearing, you can do 2 days of testimony 1 week, 1 day, so there are a variety of reasons that we considered in this case. And a lot of, if you look back on some of our high profile homicide cases, most of them did go to grand jury. Yes.
We have unconfirmed reports that a white RV was pulled over by law enforcement yesterday at Highway 43 and Highway 58. And some were saying this was possibly where Giselle and Jacqueline were taken into custody. Are you able to confirm that? And also, near Potomac Avenue, the neighborhood where Giselle and Jacqueline have been living with his parents after they moved back from California City, there was a helicopter.
I'm curious as to why they can't discuss the details of the arrest, because that usually takes place. They'll usually say, we picked them up, blah, blah, blah. They were in this car just outside of this area, and we picked them up right there. I'm wondering why she's not giving those kind of details as to how, or at least not even one of the officers that spoke up said anything about the details of how they of how they arrested Giselle and Jacqueline.
Around, I want to say 7, 8 o'clock last night. Can you confirm that that was looking for Giselle and Jacqueline?
The defendants, Trezell and Jacqueline West, were taken into custody last night around 7 p.m. by the Bakersfield Police Department in western Kern County.
How did that happen? How did you find out that the Winnebago that was there? We had spotted it earlier in the day in Edison, and then it was the same Winnebago that you guys found yesterday. How can you say what tipped you off that the Winnebago was there at Enos Lane and Highway 58?
No. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
What does this say about the vetting and background process for adopting parents here in Kern County?
Ma'am, it's not the job of the district attorney to talk about those types of things. It's the job of the district attorney to look and see if a crime was committed and bring those guilty.
Jacqueline were taken into custody.
Sorry, I need to hear that question
Are you
again.
able to confirm that? And also, near Potomac Avenue, the neighborhood where Giselle and Jacqueline have been living with his parents after they moved back from California City, there was a helicopter with a searchlight going over around, I want to say 7, 8 o'clock last night. Can you confirm that that was looking for Giselle and Jacqueline?
The defendants, Trezell and Jacqueline West, were taken into custody last night around 7 p.m. by the Bakersfield Police Department in western Kern County.
How did that happen? How did you find out that the Winnebago that was there? We had spotted it earlier in the day in Edison, and then it was the same Winnebago that you guys found yesterday. How can you say what tipped you off that the Winnebago was there at Enos Lane and Highway 58?
No. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
What does this say about the vetting and background process for adopting parents here in Kern County?
Ma'am, it's not the job of the district attorney to talk about those types of things. It's the job of the district attorney to look and see if
I'm
a
sorry,
crime was
guys. I missed
committed
that again.
and bring those guilty parties to justice.
got some
Bill and
distractions right now.
Jacqueline West were taken into custody last night around 7 p.m. by the Bakersfield Police Department in western Kern County.
How did that happen? How did you find out that the Winnebago that was there? We had spotted it earlier in the day in Edison, and then it was the same Winnebago that you guys found yesterday. How can you say what tipped you off that the Winnebago was there at Enos Lane and Highway 58?
No. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
What does this say about like the vetting and background process for adopting parents here in Kern County?
Ma'am, it's not the job of the district attorney to talk about those types of things. It's the job of the district attorney to look and see if a crime was committed and bring those guilty
Okay.
parties to justice.
I still couldn't really understand
So
it,
are
but
the defendants cooperating and have they admitted to any wrongdoing?
I can't discuss. That is absolutely prohibited. Any type of statement.
now we know now that they pled not guilty, that they're pleading not guilty. So keep in mind this press conference was yesterday, and their arraignment was today.
By the ethical canons that attorneys are required to follow. I won't comment on the evidence specifically. I won't comment on statements.
Are
Yes.
these the only arrests that are going to be taking place in this case? Is there plans to bring in anybody else or to arrest anybody else involved in this?
If I had those plans, I probably wouldn't tell you, but I can't tell you anyway. It's a good question. I don't mean to be.
Yeah, that's a good point. The vetting process for adoptive parents, and that's actually a good question. She just got pissed off about it because that's what's going to happen. Is this is another case of the system failing, and then she probably agrees, but she's not. That's not her job to talk about that shit. You know what I mean? It's just not her job. Somebody, there are a lot of people right now who feel that some accountability would go to child services, family services. Another case where they failed a child, 2 children this time, 2 siblings. So it's people are getting mad, and we need to speak up more about it. That's this is a real problem.
You tried, but I'm not going to comment on that. Yes.
Sorry. I do
Go
have
ahead.
one more. We do know that Orson and Orrin were 2 of 4 adopted kids. They also had another 2 biological kids. Any idea of the whereabouts of the other 2 adopted kids and the biological kids as well? And were there any signs or prior signs of prior abuse in the household with the other 4 kids?
I'm not able to discuss that.
And why do you adopt kids? Because let me tell you something. When you foster kids, the state will pay for it. The state will pay, will at least pay you. You'll get a check, an assistance check for taking care of these kids who are technically in the state's custody. But once you adopt, that's your kid. It's your responsibility. So why would people adopt if they're just going to beat their child to death or kill their child? Why would they adopt unless they're just twisted, fucked up people?
But it's not like the other 4 are missing. They are in the care and custody of the Child Protective
So it's
Services.
4 other kids.
Yes.
Were Trezell and Jacqueline West under surveillance for a considerable amount of time before you made an arrest?
I cannot answer that. I mean, I know, but I shouldn't be answering that. Yes.
Have you spoken to the biological?
It's
parents?
just weird, man. Like, why go through all those bells and whistles to adopt? Just to hate these kids so much. Because that's hatred, man. That's fucking hatred. That is a physical act of hatred right there. You actually get more government assistance if you adopt? Is that true?
Of Orrin and Orson,
I don't know if that's true.
Since you learned of this news, and if so, what was their reaction to this finding?
Well, Mr. Smith has had contact with some of the biological family in this case, and I would have to defer to him about that. Our office, grand jury proceedings are secret. They are confidential. They are not to be revealed until after an arrest is made in this case. And in any case.
All right,
So
everybody's
we
saying
will
it's true.
Now,
I mean, I
if there
just
has
didn't
been
know. I'm
arrest
just
made,
genuinely
we'll be
asking.
able to
I don't
talk
know.
to the family of the victims more so, but even before that, we weren't able to really go into detail with them, although I can tell you we have had contact with the family.
Was it a unanimous vote with the grand jury to bring forth the indictment?
I don't think that's something that can ever be revealed. I think that's confidential information in the hands of the grand jury. I can tell you that there was sufficient number to do it, or it wouldn't have been a valid indictment. But whether it was unanimous or not unanimous, I don't know, because they don't tell us.
Can you say which legal counsel will represent the suspects?
They will be arraigned tomorrow in court, and if they cannot afford counsel, they will be appointed, or if they want to retain counsel, they can do that. So we don't know. We won't know in the criminal matter who their attorneys will be until tomorrow morning.
How do you guys plan to bring this news to the biological family? Obviously, we're saying you guys have given confirmation that both boys are diseased as well. But
I wonder if they're in like the general population area of the jails. I mean, obviously she's in the women's, and he's in the men's, but I wonder, like, I mean, and if either one of them are stupid enough to tell anybody why they're in there, because, man, that's not going to be easy time.
there's no concrete evidence showing this. It sort of feels what's been going on for almost the past year, where the family and the community has sort of been left without any answers. And that constant question has been brought up, where are the boys? And I mean, you're saying there's concrete or, confirmation that they are diseased, but how would you guys?
It's called a jury trial, sir. That's where we will prove
This lady's
that they
kind
are
of an
deceased,
asshole.
and we have
This lady's kind of an asshole. I don't know if I like it or not yet. I may end up loving it, but like the way that she's snarky as fuck towards these press people, man.
grand jury has already found that they are deceased, and we have presented evidence that. As far as the news that went to the biological family, I think the news did that last night.
Yeah, there's all kinds of different ways that you can prove that someone is deceased without actually producing their body. You can absolutely do that. There's blood evidence. There's, I mean, like, luckily they found Gandon Stock's body, but we know that they had plenty of evidence to be able to convict on murder. I mean, there's no way. The amount of blood that they found was not, there's no way that, an 11-year-old kid could have survived that. There's just no way anybody could have. Yeah, I couldn't be a lawyer either, Joe Smith. I couldn't. I could be a prosecutor maybe, but not a defense attorney.
I think you were out at the scene with the biological family before we were even had the defendants in custody or had an opportunity to do this press statement today. So as far as news to the family, I think that I think they already know.
Question.
Yes. And just a couple more questions, please.
Could you talk a little bit about the sentencing for the other two charges, the willful cruelty to the child? What's kind of the average for that as well?
Well, what that term carries is 6 years. Correct, Mr. Smith? 6 years.
And would that be changed because there's 2 counts of that, or for each defendant?
That's kind of a complicated sentencing question. You look to see if the conduct supporting the homicide charge, and you take what's called it's a determining sentencing whether or not you get any more time on the child abuse cases counts if they're convicted on the murder, and it depends on the facts and circumstances.
I have a question for Chief John Walker. You did submit your resignation recently to the department, to resign as chief of the California City Police Department. Can you give us a reason, why you decided to resign from the department, your plans, or so forth?
I think that really has no bearing on this, so.
Yeah, where are you going with this,
I'd
buddy?
like to stick to the subject, but yes, it's, I've been there for 2 years. I've done my best, and it's time for me to move on.
Are there any more questions? One last question. Yes?
I know you can't say
Seems
how
like
boys were murdered. I understand that.
seems like there's a lot of publicly political shit going on in that county, man. That the press knows about. There's a lot of weird shit happening in Cal City, looks like.
you say if you believe you know how it happened, though.
No, I can't say anything like that. We are prohibited from going into the facts of the case. And obviously, we know what the facts of the case are. I can't go into anything further than that. And we just invite you to cover the trial in which the facts will be produced. So thank you very much. Thank you for coming today. Thank you for your excellent questions. I hope I was able to answer them to the extent that I could. You all have a very nice day.
And you've been listening to a news conference by
Now, do I like that she's handling this case? So far, yes. Do I like her? No. I don't like any of these people. Like, dude, guys, for those of you who've been following me for a long time, then you know about when I covered the Colton Harris Moore situation. I had him on this channel several times, and we discussed Jenny Durkin, who is currently the mayor in Seattle. But at the time, during what Colton was going through, she was his prosecutor. And she was extremely politically driven. So no, like these people, no, I don't like them as people because they're power hungry. They're all Kamala Harris types. You know what I mean? For the most part. I mean, let's face it. They're power hungry. So no, I mean, I just don't fucking like lawyers. So, but well, yeah, man. See, she decides what they're going to prosecute and what they're not going to prosecute. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, she decides that. I'm not big on prosecutors. I'm not big on defense attorneys. I'm not big on civil attorneys. I don't like lawyers. That's just a fact. I mean, like, they are bloodsuckers, man. Absolute vampires. But like I said, see, I like her in the sense that I like that these two people have a bloodsucker on them right now. I absolutely love that. So I like that too. That's great. But she got really upset about the whole CPS thing, or about the whole adoption vetting. What the fuck? How am I supposed to answer that? Which I don't disagree with her on. So moving forward, I have this. Let's see here. That's my Kermit the Frog voice. Let's see here. Hi ho, this is Kermit the Frog here, coming to you live. All right, hold on. Sorry. Oh God. Oh, I can't share it. Oh God, that's so stupid. Hold on, I can do this. I'll figure something out. It keeps saying Chrome has lost permission to capture my screen. Blah blah blah. I don't know why it says that. Or in my photos. This is supposed to be why this computer is awesome, and for some reason, StreamYard doesn't like it. So I'm going to have to do something here. I'm going to have to do this the old-fashioned way. What am I looking at? Somebody emailed me something too. Somebody says she has inside info, but I'm not. Yeah, I don't know how true that is. So I'm not going to get into that. Give me 1 second, though. Here we go. What's up, Panda? You doing all right, baby? Right. Oh, I got to do each one. Oh, that's so annoying. All right. All right. Apple does not suck. I like Apple, but it sucks for StreamYard apparently. All right. So as you can see here, I think. Okay, I sent them backwards, or they just came through all messed up. So this is the indictment right here. And I guess it really doesn't matter. So I'll just read one of these. Doesn't matter. So count one, Penal Code Section 187, murder. On about September 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2020, Trezell West and Jacqueline West did with malice aforethought murder Orrin West, a human being in violation of Penal Code Section 187, second-degree murder, a felony. It is further alleged that the above offense is a serious felony within the meaning of Penal Code Section 192.7. The circumstance in aggravation, it is further alleged that the defendant Trezell West and Jacqueline West committed a crime that involved great violence, threat of great bodily harm, or other acts disclosing a high degree of cruelty, viciousness, or callousness with the meaning of California rules of court. So yeah, that sounds like more than just, I mean, it sounds like these kids suffered, unfortunately, to say the least. Tragically, sadly, infuriatingly, they suffered. And let's see. It says circumstance in aggravation. It is further that the victim, Orrin West, was particularly vulnerable within the meaning of California rules of court 4.421. circumstances in aggravation. It is further alleged that the defendant Trezell West and Jacqueline West induced others to participate in the commission of the crime, occupied a position of leadership or dominance of other participants in its commission within the meaning of California rules of court. It is further alleged that the defendant Trezell West and Jacqueline West took advantage of a position of trust or confidence to commit the offense within the meaning of California rules. Now, that's not what I'm taking as they don't have a body, so they can't talk about the disposing of a body. They can't charge somebody with disposing of the body without the body, I don't think. You know what I mean? I assume it would be difficult to do that. So what I'm thinking is that, sorry, let me get up here. Yeah, they all pretty much say the same thing. They all say the same thing. So what I'm thinking is that the other siblings, one or more or all of the other siblings, were somehow involved in this. And I'm guessing that they probably talked and told the story of what took place. And what it seems like to me is that they were forced to do something. I honestly don't know. I'm not sure it was one of the kids, but it kind of implies that because they were in a position of authority over them. They were in a position of leadership over them in some way, shape, or form. Now, my mind is going crazy as to what the circumstances are. So, and exactly, Aaron, you hit the nail right on the head. Exactly. As soon as I started thinking, as soon as I read that, I started thinking that explains, that would probably most likely explain the rambunctious comments that Trezell was making. Kept going back to them being rambunctious, right? So if their bodies were to be found, he's already kind of disclaiming, well, they have bruises on them because they're rambunctious. They're 3 and 4, so they like to fight. And God help this person, dude, if he did something as sadistic as making them fight, or something to that effect, because apparently there's a bunch of other witnesses, right? There's a whole bunch of witnesses. So who knows what the circumstances are? I'm wondering if he was like, God, man, like my speculation is going crazy right now as to what this dude possibly did or what these two did. I have no idea. I have no idea. I don't know if it was sexual in nature, because how can you prove that if you don't have bodies? So, because first thought, I think, okay, well, there's nothing, they haven't been charged with anything like that. And I would assume that one of the other 4 kids would have experienced this as well at some point. And if they are talking, then they would admit to it or say something, and then they'd have a victim, and then they could charge them with that, with something sexual in nature. So I'm not really leaning towards that, but also, like I said, it would probably, in theory, be difficult to prove that something like that took place without bodies to examine. So yes, and I'm sorry if these things that I'm speculating on are triggering, but yeah, something, and by speculating on this, we're not interfering with an investigation here by talking about it and speculating on it. We're just not. The only people that could mess up the trial would be the prosecution. or, law enforcement for leaking information. But, I think it's safe to speculate on what could have possibly happened. Hey, I don't blame you. Kimberly Kim, I don't blame you. We'll always watch other videos. Good night, all. If you recently subscribed to me, I understand that. But for those of you who've been subscribed to me for a long time, I've been covering cases for a long time. So this is not news. And when this first broke, when this first happened, I talked about it here then. But if you're here because of the dragging of Lowell's cows, I get that. And we do that still here. We're still gonna have fun doing that. And Burnt Toast is going live at 9 Eastern time. So I'm definitely going to end this by then. But I don't take pleasure out of this. I take solace in knowing that I'm doing it for the right reasons, and I'm trying to spread information and create and help perpetuate awareness. But yeah, I mean, this is in a way a real crime channel. I have always been. Nana times 2. That's funny. Yeah. I mean, and I get it, man. Like lately, we've got the Serenity thing, and Oakley is pretty much presumed dead now, and we don't have any answers regarding Summer right now, but we've already got 3 cases where somebody is either confirmed or presumed dead, and their children, children who CPS or family services, whatever it's called in your area, have failed these kids without a doubt. This is something that we're going to talk about a lot, people. This is something that's going to be a focus on this channel. I'm going to be working with Annie on that. I might be working with Crude AF on that. The 3 of us might be working on that together. We might, who knows? But I think it's at this point, it's just a question of setting it up. But we've discussed it, or at least I've discussed it with the 2 of them. And the focus is going to be there's going to be a lot of focus on family services and how they're failing these kids, and try to brainstorm and try to come up with ideas on how we can spread more awareness and how we can get change to actually be made in a positive manner, so that this isn't happening so often. I mean, there's no way we're going to fix the system. You know what I mean? There's just no way we're going to, I'm not, unrealistic. I don't see us being able to absolutely and totally just, magically make things happen, but we can actually, we can shake the ground a little bit, we can shake the ground a little bit, and, and if it saves one kid, it's worth it. If it just saves one kid, it's worth it. I mean, creating that kind of awareness and then holding a higher standard from our public service, from our public services that are designed to protect our children. We need to hold a higher standard for that, and we need to be more angry about it as a whole, because it's bad. It's really bad right now. I don't know much about that case, Michael Vaughn. I know of the name, but I have not looked into that. I mean, it's not just the judge's decisions, though. you have to understand that the judge is going to make decisions based on evidence that's presented to them. You understand? This is what happens in family court. So a lot of the times it's just simply, family service workers that are just not doing their jobs either properly or diligently. That's very much the case much of the time. So we can't put all the blame on the judge, you know? Yeah, I'll probably look into the Michael Vaughn case too. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that's what's really sad, you know. Well, not just sad, but what's angering, man, is about not knowing the details of the case because my imagination just goes crazy and it's stuff that I don't want to think about. Basically why I stopped talking about it, because we're not going to ruin anything by speculating, but I'm not doing myself any favors by speculating without knowing everything, because it's making me think of things that I don't want to think of. I don't know. Let me see something. There we go. So I've got the TBI Twitter up right now. And just the only found safes that I'm seeing that are silver alerts. I'm not seeing anything from the TBI right now regarding a 3-year-old missing. Um, okay, good. That's great news. That's great news. What? That I'll have to listen to. That I'll have to listen to. I hope that happens, because I'm not done talking about them. I am not done talking about BHB. I am not done talking about MGL. And before I close this out, guys, I want to share that with you. Cherry's been dropping the links in the chat. So we're dropping the links in the chat right now of you get your Dumpy Dump merch, and you get your Dumpy Dump merch, and you get your beater bunch merch. Oh, I heard that was kind of happening. I mean, is that shocking? Somebody with such a shady character, such as that dude. I mean, she hangs out with shady characters constantly. She's a shady character herself. She's the shadiest of characters. She has a police record longer than just about anybody that I've ever talked about on this channel. You know what I'm saying? Like, she has the longest police record I've ever even heard of. Yes, Burnt Toast is going live in about 25 minutes. And I will be there in chat because I'm looking forward to that. So I'm going to show you guys. The merch. For those of you who have not seen it yet, I'm going to share that, dude. I'm going to shill the fuck out of this stuff. I'm telling you guys, like, this is the stuff that I want sold. I want this stuff out there. And I want to be able to help those charities. So this is your dumpy dump shirt. Don't be a dumpy dump. That's MGL's mugshot. This is to help educate people you know. Make sure that this doesn't happen to them. All right. Proceeds go to missing and exploited children. And so we're going to work on getting some more designs for you. But for the time being, there's only this one design, but it comes in, dude. We got the classic tee. We got the neck gaiter for you, dude. That's going to scare off. That's going to scare off any COVID, you know, right there. That's going to scare off COVID for you. So don't worry about that. And then you've got the hoodie. You got a hoodie right here. Beautiful. You can get that in any color, man. Get it in any color. Look at this. You get it in green. You can get it in red. You can get it in orange. You know what I'm saying? If you're a Tennessee fan, like, this is what you wear. You know what I'm saying? This right here is, if you're this is how you answer back to her for wearing Tennessee Volunteers gear while she was here. It was really annoying to see her do that. I'm not gonna lie. We've got stickers. You got your tanks, right? Ladies tanks, and you got your Bettys. By Betty, I mean beater. All right. You got your Betty right here. See what I'm saying, people? And then you got the speaking of the beater bunch, look at this. You get this cool mug. You know what I'm saying? You get this cool mug, the beater bunch. Six different mug shots of Bullhorn Boob. She's been arrested. Get them different colors, dude. You can get them in different colors. Look at this. The variety is, you get it however you want. Get it however you want. You know what I'm saying? This is amazing, bro. You could be part of your own coffee club in the morning. That's what you're drinking out of when you're hate watching. You know what I'm saying? Got the neck gaiter. Now, yeah, this is the scariest thing that COVID has ever faced, is having to look at that. So it's not going to come near you. I promise. It's not going to come near you. It's just not going to come near you. You know what I mean? It's just not going to come near you. So, yeah. And so the beater bunch, the Beater Bunch merch with the BHB mugshots, that stuff, all the proceeds are being donated to the Joyful Life Foundation, and that is a charity for domestic violence survivors and victims. Okay, that's absolutely, well, yeah, of course, yeah, absolutely, great. I mean, when you're watching me or Burnt Toast or anybody, dude, yeah, absolutely, man. Drink out of your Beater Bunch merch, bro. Coffee Clatch Club. Yeah, so absolutely. So like I was saying, man, this is a way to not make them out to be liars, to make them out to be truthful people, because they claim to be advocates, yet they don't advocate for shit. But if you buy this merch, they're advocating, because it's their images and their mistakes that we get to use this merch to teach others and learn from. So this way, and we're advocating for victims. We're absolutely advocating for victims. So this helps counter, since MGL loves to exploit missing and missing children. She loves to exploit the exploited and ride off the back of victims. Well, you can actually give her a nice little FU and purchase a shirt with her mugshot on it and teach others not to be a dumpy dump. And then you're helping the kids. You're helping the exploited. So and she's, Betty claims to be an advocate for domestic violence victims. Well, now she is. Now she is, because Joyful Life is a charity for domestic violence survivors and victims. Absolutely. All right. So, all right. I appreciate everybody joining me tonight. Any new updates? And if we're going to cover the trial too. So any new updates, and I will be sharing those with you. Be sure to also make sure to check out 10 to Life, who's also covering this, and check out Crude AF. I don't know if he's covering this case, but he's covering a lot of different missing persons cases. He's doing some good stuff with his channel, and so make sure to subscribe to Crude AF, and make sure to head over to Burnt Toast. She's going live in just over 15 minutes from now. And I will see you guys there in that chat. I love you very much, and we will do this again very, very soon, my friends.